CJ Kidd with the $20 super chat showing love says, "Who Shot You was originally supposed to be Big Keith and LL. Big Keith and LL. Excuse me. I guess he means Keith Murray. But I think LL thought the Big was taking shots, so he recorded 'I Shot You' as a response to Big, and just like with the message, Pop thought it was for him instead." Did you see this? It was on Sway's show. And I forgot the individual that was saying this, and maybe the people know in the chat because it was sent to us on our Instagram. And he said that "Who Shot You" by Biggie wasn't about Pac, it was about LL. And he said that LL's "I Shot You" was a response to "Who Shot You." And honestly, that makes sense. And so, I was listening to the original "I Shot You," not the remix, the one that most people know. And I love the original one too. It's actually one of my favorite LL songs in that time period. But when he said, what it was in the second verse, guys, he was like, because they said, all right, the line that Big said that was for LL was the old school, new school, need to learn though, right? And LL was like, baby boy reminiscent old school shit. And I thought that was at Pac, honestly, because of the old school song. But if you put these two things together, "Who Shot You," "I Shot You" being the answer to that, it makes sense. And a lot of the stuff that L's saying on the "I Shot You" does sound like it is going at Big. And so the individual that was on Sway's show, and y'all let me know in the chat who that is. I don't want to, be like that. He said Big didn't really like LL like that because he said LL copied too much. And that's the part I wanted to harp on because I don't really understand what that means. What does that mean? Who did LL copy?
Do you feel like is that going back to the adopting of Kane's flow? Because Kane's from Brooklyn.
Exactly. And and that's where my mind went. And
where L from? Like where L from?
Mm-hmm.
L from Queens, right?
Yeah.
Kane from Brooklyn. Where Big from?
Brooklyn. And then what it also made me think about? I seen the same shit happen to Kane. 3 cuts in your eyebrow. Like, who are you talking about? Y'all jacking, fuck the flow, you're jacking our slang. I seen the same shit happen to Kane. Who are you talking about?
I thought that was the Locks, though.
No.
The J thing? That was the Locks. 3 cuts in your eyebrows trying to wild out. Remember around the same time, wild out.
No. That song was slightly before Wild Out.
No, same time.
Same time period. That's fine. But I think that but when he said, even if he's talking about the 3 cuts or whatever and people biting or whatever, when he said, "I seen the same shit happen to Kane," the Locks didn't bite Kane. Who is he talking about?
He was talking about people biting his style now. That's why he said, "I seen the same shit happen to Kane."
But I'm saying, when he saw it happen to Kane, who is he talking about?
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
And I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's like, so it seems like Big and Jay, because you would think, especially Big and Jay, we know the interesting relationship between Jay and LL and how far they go back now that we're just now learning that part of it. But L was always the mark. L was always the guy to aspire to be at that level. And so it's hard for me to imagine that somebody like Big and even Jay growing up in New York City and their introduction to hip hop, like most of us, especially people a little older than us, their introduction to hip hop was LL Cool J from a massive level, especially from a young person's perspective. Because at the time you had Run DMC was out there crossing over, but LL kind of represented that young generation, and that's that age bracket that Big and Jay are in. So.
Yeah, because they're literally only like 3 or 4 years, like like Jay's only like 3 years younger, maybe, and like Big like 5.
So he represents the youth, and to say he didn't really like LL like that because he copied too much, that sounds like something he found out later. You know what I'm saying? Because we
no.
can't really
Actually,
look at
Mike.
L and say he copied anybody.
No. Actually, Mike, what I'm saying is that because they're from Brooklyn,
Mm-hmm.
and because think about this, like I think if go look up and see how old LL is in his relationship to be like Big and J right quick, because what you probably have in Big and J are two really really big Kane fans, who are some Brooklyn niggas who grew up in Brooklyn, who grew up on Kane. So when they're hearing L on the radio, they're like, hold up, that's Brooklyn style. Like, hold up, you know what I mean?
Well, they're not just Kane fans, Coop. Kane actually had Jay around, like you know what I'm saying, and
And Mr.
Biggie,
C is responsible
exactly,
and that's
exactly,
Kane's DJ.
yes, exactly.
Correct.
Mr. C is
So Kane is
Kane's
very instrumental to
DJ.
Big and J being here, correct.
Yeah, exactly. Mr. C is Kane's DJ. Mr. C put Big on. So this is insider stuff. Now, this is me, Tim for Kofi or
It's
whatnot.
Brooklyn stuff too, though, Mike. That's
Oh,
what
of
I'm
course.
saying.
Of course it's Brooklyn stuff. LL's 55 years old. I think Jay is
About 52.
I think Jay will be 53 this year. No, he's 53 now. He'll be 54 this year.
See?
Yeah,
So
very
that's
close
what
to
I'm
that.
saying. So when so think about this. So when L is doing
Big
the
would have been
Kane
51,
thing,
I believe.
so when L's doing the Kane thing, when it's like 90, right?
Yeah.
So let's say it's 90. So L is 20, but J's 18, 19, and Big is like 16. You know what I'm saying? You know how you are at 16, 17, 18, Mike, especially if it's a dude from your neighborhood.
Follow me real quick. Follow me real quick. What if?
I don't know if that's a good
What
idea. Every time
if?
you tell me to, Mike, every time you tell me to follow you.
What if? And I don't know any of this stuff. But what if, Big and Jay grew up idolizing LL Cool J like most of us did? And most people in their era did, right? What if they get in the game or get close to Kane? Because all of them are Kane insiders. Big work with Kane early before, Ready to Die, any of that stuff dropped. And like you said, Mr. C is a connection there. Jay was straight up connected to Kane. What if they get in the game and they discover that maybe Big Daddy Kane wrote some things that Marley Marl produced for LL Cool J, and maybe as fans, you know how we are as fans, if you looked up to somebody for a long time, you just get disappointed. Is that a possibility? Is that a possibility that, maybe someone told them, you know what, or maybe the man himself, so you know what, I wrote Around the Way Girl. I wrote Booming System, Pink Cookies in a Plastic Bag. I wrote Jingling Baby Remix, Uncle, L, Future of the Funk. I don't know. What if those are the things? Because when you say
this is why we're not following you anyway.
No, because when you say he copies too
like
much,
by now.
When you say he copies too much, that directly coincides with the whole fuck the flow, you're jacking our slang. I seen the same shit happen to Kane. Well, when you say he's copying too much, who or what is he copying? I don't think, from the outside looking in, doesn't look like LL copied anything to me. All of this stuff looks like LL. Doing it is LL. You know what I'm saying? The only person that would say something like that, and it seems very consistent with Jay and Big, is somebody who knows something that we might not know. That's all I'm saying. Hypothetically.
Let me get I just think we would have heard something by now, is all I'm saying, Mike.
Well, I mean, maybe.
We literally, after all these years, we literally do just have the conjecture.
Oh, it's only conjecture. But you know what? All right, follow me again. Okay. Follow me again. So, if you're in the 80s, right, and we see, KRS, Kane, Rakim, they didn't really want to go, and Kane has said this himself, he didn't really want to go in the direction the industry was going in as far as calling women bees and hoes and things like that in the gangster rap, so he kind of faded to the back. Now, what if the opportunity presented himself where your producer, the guy who produced, for Biz, and you wrote for Biz as well, presented you with an opportunity to say, you know what, I know you ain't really feeling the business side of it right now. LL is a superstar. Anything that he makes is gonna ride. You write it, get paid, you're good. You don't have to go out here on tour. You don't have to record. You don't have to deal with the industry. You take that, right? I would.
Yeah. So hold on,
And all you gotta do, is say, you know what? If people ever ask you about it, I ain't write that shit. Like
Yes.
Rakim does with Summertime. Like we know Rakim wrote Summertime. Let's keep it real. But you gotta say no because the checks gotta keep coming in. I think that's a dope deal. Now, for the people on the outside who might know
Are you
this,
saying there's a non-disclosure
who
agreement for
knows?
some
Who
of these
knows?
records?
Hypothetically. But for
Hypothetically.
the people on the outside who don't have to have a non-disclosure, they can think and say whatever they want. You know what I mean?
You be wild.
I'm just putting out scenarios.
Just want to let you know you be wild.
Andrew Green with the
People
super
be thinking that it's me. Like the hashtag be Coop is very problematic, but
Hey man, I'm just kind of putting the puzzle pieces together because
man,
I think the person that sent that to me, and I'm gonna shout them out in a minute. I think they were sending that because a lot of people think Who Shots is about Pac or whatever, and to kind of I guess close that and say okay, it was a Big and LL thing. But the thing that I got most out of it is when he said that Big said LL copies too much, and I'm like, what does
oh
that
no.
mean? What does
No,
that
no.
mean?
Did we have that on record being said anywhere though, Mike? Because that's the part too.
You're right, but you know what we do have on record? I seen the same shit happen to Kane.
We do have that on
That's
record.
on record.
I
And
always thought that was a lock shot, Mike. Wow.
it probably was. I
They're
mean,
recording around the same studios around the same time, Mike, but you're talking about the inverse of the bar with
mm-hmm.
saying that when he's saying that in reference to Kane, he's talking about L.
Yeah.
But a
Andrew,
lot of niggas Jack Kane style, it's Kane.
to me, I could close my eyes and hear Around the Way Girl and hear Kane's voice in it. I went and played Pink Cookies in a Plastic Bag yesterday, and I was like, damn, that could be Kane too. I don't know. Andrew Green with the super chat says, Joe Button, Only Human is my favorite song. It got me through hard mental health times. It's a powerful side note. Did the 2022 yearbook ever drop? We just didn't get enough support for the yearbook, and we just don't have enough staff, and all that. So it just didn't make monetary sense for the time and the sweat equity that's put in it. But as we grow, you're gonna get those. You're definitely gonna continuously
Cost
get
of
those.
goods versus productivity rate,
Right.
divided by the labor, and then you put the product out,
I'm sitting here doing math like that meme or whatnot.
the math. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
but it's a great concept, and we're glad that y'all
Math.
love it. And
It was fun though. I think it was great work for us in regards to giving us some editorial and like actual layout and design knowledge and capabilities about some future endeavors possibly.
yeah,
Yeah, COGs.
and like I said, as we grow, it'll just get better, But for right now, we kind of put it on pause. Matt Max with the super chat says, and LL is better than Biggie. Big lucky to LL and end him off like he did Kane and Cannabis. What do you think LL and Biggie rap battle would look like though?
I think go listen to the Flavor in Your Ear remix.
I mean, I was listening to I Shot You, man. Like, that's a strong response. I think what happened was they wanted him to put that remix together and make that the single so this
Can I
didn't
ask?
become a thing.
Can I ask you something, Mike?
Yeah.
Where's LL's verse for you on the I Shot You remix? Like, where would you rank it? Because it's not better than Prodigy or Foxy's verse, in my opinion.
It's not better than Keith Murray's verse either to me.
I don't think so. I was about to say about Tyler Keith.
Where I would put it, this is how I would rank that song. And you've sold me on the Prodigy because Prodigy's killing it lyrically. I'm gonna go Prodigy, Keith. Man, I don't know. That Foxy and L is close. What the fuck? I thought I conquered the world.
I
Crush
think it's
Mo Deep,
Fox.
Hammer,
I,
and Ice T's girl. But still, niggas want to instigate shit. I battle anybody in the rap game quick. Name, no, I don't know, man. I think I'm going LL third. Female rappers too. I don't give a fuck, boo.
See, I thought that
Word.
was a shot at Foxy, which is what let me know how great Foxy's verse was.
The other thing that he was saying and go listen to I Shot You, y'all. Y'all can listen to it while we're doing the show. But when he kept saying your wife, I'm like, he is talking about Big. You know, I'm more convinced listening to LL's quote unquote response that that was a real story than I was just listening to Who Shot You. You know what I mean?
I mean, Mike, prove it then.
CJ Kidd with the super chat says some people felt that LL took some of Shan's style when MC Shan got popular. That's what I heard. Mad Max in the super chat says the word is Hove and LL had an unofficial battle. Heard that too. CJ Kidd with the super chat says you guys can play the track, but I'll tune out because I hate my voice. I know my chat brethren will have a laugh, but F it. Let's have some fun. Most definitely. We're gonna get that in. Mad Max with another super chat says, Mike, stop. Stop this. Nobody wrote for LL. Mad Max is probably gonna curse me out. He says, this is the same Big who copied Kane himself and was copying Nas's album cover. That Biggie? Yeah, not about the slander LL. Him, Kane, and Rakim are off limits. Yeah, the New Yorkers are mad at me right now. KC1 with the super chat says, Jay is the last person to talk about biting. Eh. Michael Williams with the super chat says, rank their offensive ability best to worst. Jordan, Kobe, T Mac, Melo, and KD. Offensive ability or efficiency? I mean, because the thing is, man, we look at Melo and KD as some of the best scorers of their era. But I mean, Michael Jordan's documented with his scoring. Like, you know what I'm
What do you mean?
saying? Like, he's just a killer with the scoring. I think Jordan's offensive ability had to be number one because he averages the most points all time. It is what it is.
I mean, I mean, it depends on how you look at it because it's like, well, this is what I mean is that well, even with that, Mike, the numbers would probably still lean in Mike's favor. One, I would tell you if I was picking it though, it would probably go like one Mike and then two Durant. I don't know if Melo would be. See, here's the thing, Mike. When you want to look at it from that perspective, it's like people forget. It's like look at, like imagine somebody like Larry Bird had he like played more.
I'm gonna look at it in a different way, right? I'm gonna look at it from
Like
a.
you know like because there's different ways to look at it. Here's what I mean. If you want to go scoring average and say Mike was the greatest, yes.
I'm going for mentality because Mike
Hold on,
and
LeBron,
Kobe
hold
were
on.
trying to score
See,
every play.
but this. Okay, so here's what you're doing when you're doing that, though.
Yeah,
You're qualifying the intangible, and when you qualify the intangible, the thing about it is that people have to be there to see it. So only the people who really saw it will understand that. That's why there's a
right.
legion of people that think that LeBron is the GOAT because they haven't seen that intangible thing that we know Michael Jordan displayed pretty much our whole youth and teenage and young adult lives. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? For about 15, 20 years of our lives, we saw what he did. And so it was like,
Coming at you
you
every
know,
play.
but for somebody that didn't see that and sees LeBron, you see, they don't understand that intangible thing. And that's why I can't look at it that way because it's not fair to the previous that passes on, and it's not fair to what's ahead that didn't see necessarily. Because here's what I tell you Mike has the highest scoring average ever. Kevin Durant has the best true shooting percentage ever. It's at 61%, Mike. It's like literally ahead of everybody else
He's a better
who's in
shooter
the
than
top.
everybody mentioned.
Like no, like ever, Mike. Like in the history of basketball, like of all people who have like over 15,000 points, Kevin Durant has the best true shooting percentage. As in, when you combine field goal percentage, free throw, three
Yeah.
point, and when you hit the buckets, Mike, that's your true shooting percentage. He's 61%. So from that perspective, he's the best scorer of all time because there's a gap between him and the next person. I think the next person might be Jerry West or Mike. But I think the gap is larger than the Wilt Chamberlain Michael Jordan scoring gap. Like that's yeah.
I think that he's the best shooter. This is how I would put it. I would put
Who's the
Jordan.
best offense? He has the best skill set.
Right, right. It still has to
That's
be
yeah.
applied. And again, I don't.
Mike's the application of the skill set. If you want to talk about he applies his skill set better than Durant does his, then yes, that's where I would tell you the advantage is.
Because if we're going in a closeout game, and we were just talking about this during the Phoenix series.
Oh, I'm not taking KD.
No, no. If we're going in a closeout game, and I say, yo, man, this nigga got to put up 60. I don't trust KD to do that. And you know what I mean? But I would trust Jordan,
Hold on,
Kobe, and even Melo to do
KD?
that.
Huh?
I would trust Jordan or Kobe to do that.
Okay, so when you say that though, that's easy to say, Mike, except for like KD's numbers say that that's not true because he's actually been in those situations and the numbers reflect that he actually has like performed in those moments. That's
No,
what
he
I'm saying.
performs. He performs. I'm not. I don't want to say that he doesn't perform.
I
I
mean,
know he
when you're
watches
saying
this
he would
show, but not
I'm
to
not
the
saying he
level
would
of Jordan and
outperform
Kobe.
Mike, but like when you're saying you wouldn't trust him, it's like you are talking to somebody that has literally the second highest game 7 scoring average ever, next to LeBron James.
Well, I wouldn't trust him over Jordan or Kobe
Right
in
in
that
front of
situation.
Steph. You know what I'm saying? No, I feel you. But
Yeah.
also too, it's like when you get in Mike, you know, like when you getting Kobe, Mike, you getting 45 to 48%. When you getting Mike, you getting 48 to 51%. When you getting Durant, you kind of starting at 50, Mike.
You
So it's
are,
like,
but you're a lot more selective, which is good to an extent. But when you need a guy who's just going to go out there and put it up and don't think as much and just really add that pressure to the defense, you're not getting that with KD. You know what I'm saying? Like not to that level. It's a lot
I mean,
more calculated. And I
but once
don't.
again,
And listen, I don't want
Mike
to
and Kobe
sound.
level, Mike LeBron didn't do that. Larry
No,
Bird
I
didn't do that.
agree.
Magic Johnson didn't do
I
that. That's
agree.
what I'm
I
saying. It's
agree.
like
I don't want to
there's
sound like I'm knocking him for being calculated because again, LeBron always makes the right basketball play and he gets knocked for that. And but sometimes when it comes to I guess our entertainment and us wanting to see people that are just gonna go out there and, be a straight up killer, that's not always the approach you want. You know what I'm saying? CJ Kidd with the super chat says, also 14 shots to the dome was criticized at the time for trying to sound like the West Coast. Specifically, Cube, Cypress Hill, and Souls of Mischief. Now, if we're talking about LL's ability to adapt to what was going on, I think that's different than copying because
you guys,
honestly, both Big and Jay did that. You know what I'm
you
saying?
guys,
And Jay is a
you guys,
big proponent of adapting, over time that helps your longevity.
as soon as you did this big ELL thing, I was like, I was about to joke and be like, where Brooklyn at?
Mel with the super chat says, Jingling Baby sounds like Kane's flow. It does. I mean, are we going to sit here and deny that? It does. Not Jingling Baby, Round the Way Girl. Now, I will say this, and because I ain't saying that hypothetically L didn't write all his stuff, whatever. Because clearly, Mama Said Knock You Out, that's L. That sounds like L. Same thing with the I Shot Ya remix and the original. That sounds like L. But if you close your eyes and listen to Round the Way Girl, Pink Cookies in a Plastic Bag, you listen to Jingling Baby remix, that stuff sounds like Kane. It does. I mean, it is what it is. Could you not hear Kane? I need a girl with extensions in her hair. Bamboo earrings, at least 2 pair. A Fendi bag and a bad attitude. That's all I need to help me get in a good mood. You know what I mean? Like, that don't sound like Kane to y'all? I mean, you're quiet.
I mean, Mike, we've had this talk numerous times.
We have. But the Biggie thing just brought it back. Mad Max to the super chat says, based off ability, it's Kobe, MJ, Melo, Mac, T Mac, KD. KD is a better scorer than all of those guys, but he's just he's just talk. I'm sorry, he's just talk and can't dribble. To me, it's about when the zone. I'm sorry, about when they're in the zone. Who can get off the best? Pause. Let's see. I think I saw another one from Mad Max. Mad Max says KD is just tall. Um, he's a better scorer than everyone except for MJ, but off of ability, it's Kobe, MJ, Melo, T Mac, KD. But Bernard King is a better scorer than all of them, including MJ. You don't have enough evidence to say that, man, Max. Um, Mitch with the super chat says, got in here late and I heard the basketball discussion earlier. We need to have a discussion about Tatum in elimination games. He's been showing up. Don't speak too soon. Got two more of those. But yeah, I'm interested to hear what a Biggie and LL battle would sound like. What Biggie did to me, which I think makes things cloudy, it could be clever or whatever, but I think Biggie went too subliminal sometimes. Because it's like,
Why do you say that?
hmm?
Why do you say that?
Because subliminals
Because when I brought up the whole long kiss goodnight thing, Mike, you were like, Coop, that's obvious. That's not even subliminal.
It was obvious to
subliminal
me.
Now.
But
so
see,
how is he subliminal now?
No, I mean, again, even that, you were able to deny some of the bars because they were still somewhat subliminal. And I think that's the problem with subliminal. Now, it can be creative, and I think Big was probably approaching it from a lyrical, creative standpoint. But especially back then, subliminals can be confusing. You know what I'm saying? It'll be like, okay, this person over here thinks you're talking about them here. This person over here thinks you're talking about them here. Saying all that to say, who shot you? If this was about LL, I think a direct shot would have cleared up a whole lot of confusion in that situation specifically. Right?
How he ended up on the Flavor Ear remix? How he ended up getting managed by Puff around the same time? Just how he
That
ended
could have
up on
been
the
part of
Flavor
it.
Ear remix.
That could have been part of it. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Did Big's comeuppance lead to LL being mismanaged by Puff? Seeing how that kind of coincides, it's kind of 95. It's kind of like Big's blow up moment.
At the time, LL had Puff did a great job in kind of, keeping LL relevant to that current generation. And he kind of rejuvenated LL in a sense. And, we even saw with that whole Bad Boy Daddy's House studio mix that there were some things going on and some beefs that were, coming from people who were in house. Even the Jay and Mace thing, like Jay was recording in at Daddy's House, Puff studio, while Mace was recording what he was recording. They were making records about each other around the same time. So even being close in that way, that didn't prevent, the back and forth from happening. Maybe it could have been one of those things where Big met L and he wasn't feeling the love. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's what happened. Because he clearly was around, like you said. I remember thinking this back in the day. You remember that lounging video? The lounging remix?
Of course.
The dude that he had in the car looked like Big to me. And I remember I was a kid. I was like, is that Big? And now I'm seeing this a little different now. What your man got Castro and escrow? Damn, but your honey ran away like presto. Alakazam. Man make the money, money never make man. You still faking Jack throwing rocks in her hand, see? I don't know. Lot to unpack here. Mad Max with the
Very problematic.
Mad Max with the super chat says, go look at Bernard King highlights. This guy's scores easier than any player I've ever seen on film. And he had a bag and he dropped 42 on MJ easy in 1992. CJ Kid with the super chat says, I'm going to assume you guys feel Who Shot Ya is better than both versions of I Shot Ya, huh? I think they're all great songs. I mean, yes, but if somebody said the I Shot Ya remix is better than Who Shot Ya, I wouldn't be saying they're crazy. I know how Coop feels because, I mean, you got Who Shot You extremely high.
The beat. I didn't say the record. The beat.
Okay, well, let me ask you. Who Shot You or I Shot You remix?
Oh, it's still Who Shot You, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Loungin' is a perfect song.
Lounging's not perfect, but you want to
You
know
don't
what's
think Lounging's
underrated?
perfect?
Almost.
That hook is beautiful.
It's not. You want to know what? Lounging's dope, but here's what I'll tell you. Trackmasters once again, Mike, on Mr. Smith, Mike.
Yeah.
I don't think they get enough credit for the job that they did on there. I mean, think about it, Mike. We got Hey Lover.
Yep.
We got Hip Hop. We got Doing It.
Mm-hmm.
We got No Airplay. We got Loungin', the original, and the Loungin' remix. We got I Shot You and the I Shot You remix. That's all Trackmaster shit, correct?
I've always been critical of Trackmaster's work with Nas, but with LL, they knocked it out the park. You know, Trackmasters is sneaky. Don't nobody want it with Trackmasters in the verses. They might get embarrassed. They could pull out a whole bunch of records that you be like, oh, I forgot about that. But no, I Shot You is one of my favorites from them. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, also Doing It was originally for Big, but LL snatched it and made it what it is today. Well, it is that Brooklyn chant at the beginning. It's a lot to unpack here, huh? We're going down a whole rabbit hole here. I would like to have seen a Biggie LL rap battle. I might take LL in that. I might.
I mean, you're not wrong for necessarily feeling that way. I don't know. Big is like, Big is such a marksman, like.
He is.
He really.
But we never really seen Big come with one full record where it was like, like the No Vaselines, like the Ethers. It was always, a little shot here and there. He was coming with jabs. We never really saw Big come with a knockout punch.
I don't know, kicking the door, Mike.
You feel like that was still very subliminal.
It's very subliminal, but Mike, it's a lot of knockout. It's a lot of
Ain't no other kings in this rap thing. You kidding?
Siblings, nothing but my children. One shot, they disappearing. It's ill win. MCs used to be on cruddy shit. Took home, ready to die. Listen, study shit. Now they on some money shit. Successful out the blue. They lightweight, fragile. My 9 milli make the wife shake. That's why my money never funny. I don't know, Mike. Your rain on the top was short like leprechauns. Mike, that's one of the best rap start-offs ever. Your rain on the top was short like leprechauns.
As I crush so-called Willies, thugs, and Rapadons.
Yeah,
get in that ass quick, fast like Ramadan.
Quick, fast like Ramadan.
Jeez.
The rap phenomenon. Don Dada. Fuck Papa.
But
you guys call me Francis. MH. White intake light totes. Tote iron. Was told in shootouts. Stay low.
Crazy. Now.
That shit crazy.
Do you follow me again?
Mike. It's very, very clear.
Follow me again.
That doesn't sound subliminal to me at all.
Well, I mean, he never says any names. That's what I mean. Now, follow me again, right? What did Cannabis say on Second Round Knockout? That shit was the worst rhyme I ever heard in my life, because the greatest rapper of all time died on March 9th. Cannabis, you got some information for us?
That's after all that, Mike.
No, I feel you. I feel you that's after all that, but you don't think Cannabis knew what was possibly going on, if that's true? It's an interesting, you know what I mean, to put in a diss record for LL to bring Big up. I don't know. Just trying to connect the dots here. Since somebody, wanted to put this out there, I mean, it's part of hip-hop history. Obviously, it's done, but a lot of these records that we thought were directed at certain people, it shifted a little bit. Mad Max with the super chat says, LL also said on Drink Champs that if he made one more chance, they would call it a love song. So he stayed sending darts at Big. I didn't see that interview. That's interesting to me too. I mean, I didn't know there was a Cold War going on between Big and LL. Like all of this is new information to me, and actually unpacking all of this, it's like there actually was something going on, and I guess maybe Jay inherited it. Now they're both in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame now, and everything's good. But I think from a competitive standpoint, you think that there's a notion out there where some of L's peers and some of the people who grew up on L don't respect his pen like they should, because I think that's where all of this comes from.
I don't know why you started all this on this Friday.
CJ Kidd asked the question, and just thought we would do a deep dive on it. That's what it feels like. Like how people say that we quote unquote don't give Ludacris the props that he deserves here in the city. I want to know from an out of towner's perspective. I'm from Atlanta. I don't know, what I'm saying? Like, I respect New York, been to New York many a times, love my folks up there, but I don't know what the consensus of people in New York is when it comes to LL. Do they feel LL's not top notch or something? Like, because I don't see where all this disrespect for LL comes from. I feel like he should be held even higher than he is. I'm the one that wrote that article that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame had been skipping out on him for 10 years plus. I don't understand
it. Does it? So, I mean, you know what I'm thinking about? I think it was on the album Phenomenon, when he was like, mirror, mirror on the wall, who was the man before Tupac and Biggie Smalls?
Mm-hmm.
I'm remembering when he said that. So that was when it let me know that it was even the coming up with the greatest of all time thing.
You're right. I remember that promo CD. Yeah.
Because when Pac and Big died, that was, you know what I mean? And he was like, oh, how did that happen?
Even him coming up with the GOAT, and the acronym for the GOAT, Pac and Big's name was in that. Because I think he did greatest of all time. Yeah, like you said, it was those bars. It was the Big and Pac thing. I forgot the exact bars, but he involved their name in this whole greatest of all time in, naming that album GOAT. And I know at the time, we were in high school, we're like, L's tripping, but I get it. I mean, L's done everything.
Well, remember the Phenomenon song?
GOAT.
She said she loves some Tupac but hates some LL.
Mm-hmm.
It was obviously a touching thing for him.
Yeah. And ever since the X's and the Jiggers came out, niggas ain't trying to hear that smooth shit you talk about. Hustling niggas made their way into the game, extorting these so-called rappers with big names. AB Studio with the super chat says, y'all remember when Tupac dissed LL on Lil Homies? I remember that.
You up here starting shit, Mike.
No, man. I know LL's recording the album with Q-Tip right now, man. It's just this positive motivation and whatnot. I mean, whoever was on Sway's show talking about this was starting some shit. We not supposed to talk about this?
You.
CJ Kidd with the super chat says, LL.
I was over here kind of like trying to play it off like, yeah, okay. She just kept
I love L, man. You know how I feel about L. I think that
not from the way you talking in these streets.
What am I saying?
I don't know.
I
don't know what.
All right. Let me clear up something real quick. Let's just say hypothetically, Kane did write Round Away Girl. I ain't saying he did, or whatever. I'm just saying hypothetically. If Kane wrote Jingling Baby or whatever, I ain't got no problem with that at all. Like, at the end of the day, both of them win. LL gets a hit. Kane gets to stay in the game, and you know what I'm saying? And because we don't have no problem with Nobody Beats the Biz and stuff like that. Kane gets to eat. LL has a hit. LL keeps it going. I have no problem with that. It's not like LL can't write. We know LL can write. He's the blueprint for solo rappers in this game. It is what it is. To me, he's the first hip-hop superstar. Or star, let's say. Either or. So, yeah, I have no problem with that. So I don't want that to be, misconstrued. because no one talks about the fact that LL wrote MC Light's verse on Self Destruction. Nobody holds that against her. Funky Fresh, Dressed to Impress, Ready to Party. That's his pen. So I love LL. He's a legend, one of the greatest ever, and he should get that respect. I just want to know from New York why New York don't be giving him the respect that they should. And I can imagine him being around as long as he had been around, and he saw a MC who's very talented like Big come up, and within a year and a half, people are saying he the greatest ever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how does a person like LL supposed to take that?
I mean, the male ego is a very fragile thing, Mike. Probably didn't take it too well.
L's
I
like,
mean,
I earned my stripes.
Well, you have to understand too that Tupac and Biggie are also doing numbers that L didn't do really. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
Like that's what people don't understand about Big's run. Big amassed a lot of platinum and gold real quick, Mike. And I ain't talking about chains and rings and shit, Mike. I'm talking about records.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that he was on was going gold or platinum pretty much, Mike. Can't you see? No, it's going gold or platinum. You know what I mean? Like, just go look at it. Like, look at it when it happened. I'm talking about when it was happening, it was happening.
I always had this theory, man, you know, because I always have wondered why L isn't held as high as, you know, some of his peers and people who have come after him. I've always felt that L just needed a classic, hands down classic album in the 90s that competed with the great hip hop albums of the 90s. And I think that maybe people would look at it different. But again, you have to understand he came from a different era of album making. His album making process wasn't the chronic Ready to Die, I'm telling the whole story album. His album making process was making bangers. You know what I'm saying? And I think as time went on, where people evolved the hip hop album making process, he kept his original process. And people looked at his albums different than they did the Illmatics, the Reasonable Doubts, the Ready to Die. And I'm just naming the New York stuff, you know, because we're talking about New York and LL's relationship. You know what I mean?
No, and I get that part too, Mike. But what I will also submit to you is that that's where I mean, like, Trackmasters actually, I think, gave L an excellent format of how to kind of lace an album. Like, I don't know if you remember Mr. Smith, but part of why I enjoyed it so much was because of how they structured the album, the way that it played.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the actual song sequencing and structure, it's different. Like, go listen to L's albums before Mr. Smith. Even the stuff that you think is classic, it's more classic about the classic songs
right.
than it is how the album plays. Mr. Smith might be his album that plays the best, Mike. Even if you don't think it's the best, it plays the best. Like,
yeah.
From beginning to end.
It's the one album that he made that was an updated formula to the way albums were put together.
So that's 95, 96. That's right in the middle of all that Big Nas, Tupac, Jay, Wu-Tang, Outkast. So it's like he had something right there. That's what I mean. It's like we're kind of understating Trackmasters, Mike. Mr. Smith, it was written.
But even when we talk about the 1995 hip-hop classics, we never really mention Mr. Smith like that. And it's unfortunate because we should.
Listen to it now.
No, we should. It aged very well. CJ Kid with the super chat says, LL, I'll rock your motherfucking bells, Tupac. Yeah. He said that at the end of my homies. Man, Max with the super chat says, Biggie and Jay just hating LL because he was the pretty boy that they think they were nicer than, but getting all the love from the joints that Big probably heard Faith and Kim say LL can get them whenever. Dave Lewis Love with the super chat says, what if the tracks Molly Marl gave LL were originally Kane's? LL was dancing a lot like Kane in the Jingling Baby remix video. I mean, when he comes in the door doing the Running Man in that way, I mean, it's the first thing I always thought. Like, oh. But I do think that Jingling Baby, in my personal opinion, is LL's best end-to-end mic performance on a record.
Jingling Babe, like Mike performance.
He's going crazy on there.
He is.
He's going crazy on there.
I don't know if it's still Mama Said Knock You Out for me.
Really? Shotgun blast
Yeah.
of her when I rip and kill at will. The man of the hour, tower of power. I'll devour. Yeah, he was going in on there. I would say the breakthrough from Bigger and Deffer's album, the breakthrough
Ill
he
Bomb.
went in.
Ill Bomb's up
I loved
there,
him on Ill Bomb too. But yeah, Ill Bomb was crazy.
Ill Bomb's crazy.
And again, that doesn't sound like anybody to me. You know what I'm saying? Like that
That's
don't
L.
sound like Kane or nothing.
That's L.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not. So when I'm saying these things, I'm not saying that L can't write. But what if he was doing? What if he was doing Kane a solid, saying like, "Yo, man, I know you tired of the industry or whatever. Look, you and Molly Mall, y'all cook up or whatever. It's a dope record." Because at the end of the day, bro, like, if you have a voice like a Snoop or L and you're a superstar like that, and you get some monster writers who sing you a record that's dope, and they like, yo, you do this record? You gonna turn it down? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why not? Shit. Especially in those days, because there was no real problem with somebody writing something. That's more recent stuff, really.
Right.
It is, man. Like I said, L wrote MC Light's part on Self Destruction. Nobody had a problem with it. And MC Light's one of the greatest too. Mad Max
I
is
love
super.
that verse.
Yeah, it's a great verse. Mad Max with the super chat said LL is known as a legend in NYC. It's just that he's from the '80s, so Regency bias comes to play. And NY just super gritty and witty. LL is not witty or grimy. I was gonna say, man, like even though he's from the '80s, though, I feel like Cool G Rap, Kane, and Rakim still get that love, though.
That kind of love, yes.
Yeah, and LL should be getting that kind of level of love too. KRS as well. I didn't mean to leave him out. CJ Kid with the super chat says, "Me against the world," or "Mama said knock you out." That's me against the world, I think.
Okay, so how much better do you think that like a prime Larry Bird and Magic Johnson were than their contemporaries, even though they're the ones remembered for the era? Like, like Moses Malone won a couple MVPs and rings right in the middle of them doing that. Dr. J was still like Dr. J, at least for like the first half of their careers. You know what I'm saying? Same
George
thing with
Gervin
Kareem.
was pretty great.
Kareem and Dr. J were still Kareem and Dr. J till about 1985, Mike.
Yeah, you're right.
Bird Magic came out in 79, 80. So it's like,
I think that
like people. How about this? People forget like Michael Jordan's 60-something point game, Mike.
They lost.
That's the year Bird won his third straight MVP too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You feel me?
I think
that's why he was like, no. That's why Bird was like, that's the guy. He's like, because I just won MVP and I can't do that shit.
Right. I think that the fact that Bird and Magic were the captains. I think Kareem was the captain, but the faces of these superpower teams were kind to them in history, and the winning that they did. I think at the time people probably knew that look, George Gervin is George Gervin. People knew Kareem was Kareem, Moses Malone. I'm sure everybody had their individual favorite players, but when we look back at it in history, based on the winning and based on who was the face of said teams, we remember Bird and Magic. But yeah, I don't think they were that much better than their contemporaries like that.
Right.
No.
It wasn't like supreme. No. Like it wasn't like.
Well, it wasn't like what Jordan did in the '90s, right?
Right.
Mad Max with the super chat says, but LL don't need to be witty or grimy because he had the delivery, the tone switch, and was smooth with player line quotables. LL's great, but
yeah.
Did Rakim and KRS coming in just change up the flow a little bit and make the standard of lyricism slightly higher? Because New York City, and we gotta admit this, New York is known for lyricism, correct?
Yeah, I mean that's what they
hold their hat on.
Right, it's kind of like,
You
New
know,
York doesn't hold their hat on delivery and flow and those things. And I think that when you think of lyrics, you think of Rakim, KRS, Kane as a lyricist. Some of the things that Slick Rick did lyrically. When you think of L, you think of the hit records, the bangers, superstardom. And what would you say is bar for bar your favorite LL Cool J verse?
if I'm picking a verse,
Mm-hmm. Most lyrical verse.
it,
And whenever you get that answer, stack that up with some of New York's great lyricists. And I
I was
think
about to
that's
say, if you're
probably
talking
what it
lyrically
is.
speaking, Mike, it might be the 4-3-2-1 verse.
Mm.
Or the I Shot Your remix verse, or Ill Bomb. Those are the first three that I thought of. I Shot Your remix, 4-3-2-1, and Ill Bomb.
Well, I want to ask the people in the chat and shoot. Like I said, LL's working on the album right now. Maybe his most lyrical performance is coming up. Um, Davis with the super chat says, Big Daddy Kane's name is ringing. I'm sorry. Big Daddy Kane's name is ringing bells, and all of a sudden, LL becomes Uncle L. Coincidence? Man, Kaya David really hates me, man, because Kaya David is always talking shit in the chat, but never super chats.
No, they always do that. Kai have been threatening to slapbox me anytime I come up in the Queens next time. Yeah, we slapbox him next time I come to Queens and all that.
John Phillips with the super chat says, John Doe Productions. Kane wrote Round the Way Girl and Strictly Business. Do you have inside information, John, or are you just?
Do you have something to offer us?
I want to know, man. I mean, like I said, I have nothing against it. I think it's a very dope thing that is being done. If that's what it was, because it allowed Kane to grow his legacy, L continue to grow his legacy, and both guys were eating. Man, I ain't got no problem with that. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, since we're talking about LL's greatness, Coop, you have Radio at number 62 on your albums list. Is that his best album, and do you think it can move up?
That's a deep dive type of question. But what I would tell you is that I probably still wouldn't put it. It's hard to say that one of hip hop's groundbreaking albums isn't a top 50 album, like it
Right.
really is.
Straight up. Because
But there are
nothing
so
really
many
existed
albums
before.
to me that sound better than it. It's like, let's say, okay, so how about this? What I tell you is like, I think moving it up. Do you think, Mike? Do you think it's a top 40 album? Because I don't.
It's hard to say that it is. I think that the best. I think Bigger and Deffer is probably his best argument for that. Radio kind of scratched the surface, and I would imagine that LL and Rick Rubin themselves would tell you that Bigger and Deffer is the better album between the two. I'm pretty sure that when they made Bigger and Deffer, they felt like they elevated. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, Radio's groundbreaking, but, Run DMC had stuff around that time too. Before that, rather. Houdini did too, so it wasn't like it was the first rap album. But it's very, very important. I think that I'm Bad is probably, I don't know. It's between I'm Bad and Rock the Bells, his most important records. But I would lean towards I'm Bad because we got visuals for that. You know what I'm saying? And we got a whole image. We got the Kango hat. We got all of that from that. And a lot of our visuals for Rock the Bells are really us imagining Bad.
See, so that's the intangible that I'm talking about, Mike. So let's go to that. Because there were visuals to Bad, when my cousins, were in Mark and Mario, like Vici and Six, they were 8 and 4 years older. So Vici's in high school. Six is in middle school. I'm in elementary school. They're leaving the house before me to get on the bus. So when they're leaving the house, I put LL Cool J's Bad in, and you want to know what I do, Mike?
What's that?
I practice the start of the video.
Most people did.
He jumps off. That's how I'm jumping off the bed, and I'm messing with Mark's Kango, and I'm practicing the video because I got the visual aid. Intangible.
No
had
rapper
to
could
be
rap.
there. I almost missed the bus one time because I got wrapped up in practicing the dance. The part where he does forget Oreos, eat Cool J cookies, I couldn't get it right.
I thought you were talking about when he was like, go LL and do the WAP.
No, I knew how to do the walk. It was the Cool J cookies part, Mike. I kept on messing up and I ended up running to have to catch the bus because I was too busy trying to crush the Cool J cookies, Mike. Visual aid.
No, it's just necessary, man. And I think that is groundbreaking in itself. I mean, people still dress up as LL Cool J with the Kango and all of that for Halloween because of
It's
that
legendary.
visual aid. Yeah. Mad Max with the super chat
It's
says
actually our Thriller costume, Mike. You know that, right? Uncle
Kinda is.
L's like 80s, like jumpsuit with the Kangol and the gold rope. That's our Thriller outfit.
right. His impact is crazy, man. I want to see a LL Cool J biopic. I think he really, really needs it. Mad Max with the super chat says, my favorite project from LL is Mr. Smith and the Go album. This is Us, Fire, LL, that or Ill Bomb. It's his best mic performance. Oh, he says home. This is Us, Fire. This is on fire. Yeah, LL, that or Ill Bomb is his best mic performance or Back Where I Belong. I was just rapping Where I Belong. Like I said, the breakthrough, I don't know if Mad Max, I know Mad Max is really a big LL fan, but I don't know if you're really into the 80s LL stuff. But listen to the breakthrough where he's going like 90-something bars, man. He really went in on that. And then gave MC Shan some bars, too. CJ Kid with the super chat says, general consensus feels either Mama Said Knock You Out or Radio. Is Radio better beginning to end, though? I don't think so. I mean, should we put a poll up? Like, what's LL's best album or something?
I think that's necessary. Bad, Radio, Bigger and Deffer, Mr. Smith, Mama Said Knock You Out. You got to do all 5.
How many options are they going to allow me to do?
Might have to do 2 rounds, Mike. He's made a lot of albums.
He has made a lot of albums.
A lot of albums. Might have to do 80s albums versus 90 albums. Do a.
Do you think Mr. Smith or Mama Said Knock You Out should be in the conversation first? Because, all right, this is what we got. We got 4 options. I could put Radio, Bigger and Deffer, Mama Said Knock You Out, and Mr. Smith. You got another one in there?
I mean, isn't it crazy that Walking Like a Panther has Jingling Baby on it and Going Back to Cali?
Yeah.
Shit's so whack outside of that, though.
But he got bangers on there.
The bullshit. Isn't that I'm That Type of Guy bullshit on there?
Yep. I like that song, actually.
What the? Mike, even young me didn't like the happy shit. I was like, what kind of?
I didn't really like the OEO part, but you know.
The OEO, it went too far. I was like, who is this nigga? Aaron Hall?
I'm That Type of Guy. He's spitting some game on there.
Where he was like, remember the video where he was like some sort of cat burglar or something? I was like, what kind of delicate? I was like, ugh. This is young Coop. I was always this way. I was like, that's so.
But see, LL took those kind of chances so that somebody like
no chance. It's just whack.
No, but I'm saying he took those superstar chances and crossover chances so somebody like a Biggie could come through and do what he did. And I say what I say about Luda's impact on the city, but I think a lot of the things that Luda did that made him national and crossover were necessary for Atlanta artists that came after him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if T.I. becomes the national star that he became without Luda coming to break down that barrier. I could say similar things about Wayne, too. Like, there wasn't really a solo rapper from the South at that time that was crossover until Luda did it.
Solo?
Yep.
I think 8 Ball started to get some of that, maybe. That
8 Ball was getting a lot of love in the late 90s. You're right, but it never really crossed over. They were still like ours. You know what I mean? He was getting a lot of love, though.
That's there, but he was getting a lot of love. Yeah, 8 Ball was getting a lot of love.
Yeah, he was getting a lot of feature game.
Hold on, Mike. No. Face, Mike. Face.
I mean, Face was known, but he wasn't platinum selling artist like Luda was. Like, Luda was moving units, man.
That's fair. How about this?
when you're saying moving units, you're talking like, well, for about a 3-album run, did Luda move like 2-3 million units every time?
Yeah,
Like,
Luda
yeah,
was going double, triple platinum and having these big
right,
songs.
right.
Yeah.
But Mike, but from about like 1989 till about 2005, like everything Brad Jordan touched went gold or platinum, though. So it's like
He was consistent in a Redman type of way. You know what I'm saying? Like,
more consistent than Redman, Mike. He was consistently going gold or platinum. Like he got a lot of gold and platinum plaques, if I'm not mistaken, Mike. Like from early on.
and
That's
he,
what I mean.
but yeah, and he's in Texas too. Texas can make you go platinum just in Texas alone.
Well, we're going to talk about that when we talk about some of our album reviews.
Wow, I'm interested in these percentages here. We got 30 votes, not a whole bunch of votes, but 10% for radio, 10% for radio. Bigger and Deffer got 19%. Mr. Smith 32%, and Mama Said Knock You Out's at 39%. So right now, people are saying Mama Said Knock You Out's his best album.
It's got Round the Way Girl and Mama Said Knock You Out on it.
Mad Max in the super chat says, Mike, I'm gonna keep it funky. If an old head brags about Rakim, Kane, KRS, G-Rap, it's because they want to be fake tough. If they was around, girls, they played LL. You think that's what it is? People being fake tough? CJ Kid with the super chat says, you guys have Daytona at 61. Put radio versus Daytona through an album rubric, because I think that's an interesting take.
What's he talking
about? Putting Daytona up against radio. Because on the list, I think that was done a while back, you have Daytona one spot ahead of radio.
Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, though, Mike. Mr. Scarface is back. 1991, gold. The World Is Yours. 1993, gold. The Diary, platinum. The Untouchable, platinum. Mike, My Homies, platinum. Last of the Dying Breed, gold. Hold on.
Okay. I'm about to pull up Luda's real quick. About to pull up Ludacris's joint, because Luda was moving units. I could be wrong. Let me go back in time real quick. So
I'm trying to find out what the fix and made and all that other stuff. So
okay, so back for the first time, triple platinum. Word of mouth, triple platinum. Actually, that's 3.6 if we want to be technical. Chicken and beer.
No, we can give this 0.6. That's 600,000.
Yeah. 2.6 million. That's chicken and beer. Red Light District, 2 million.
Okay.
Release Therapy, that's 1.3.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, we didn't have anybody out the South that was doing it like that until
No,
Luda.
that's fair, Mike. No.
And I think that he kind of paved the way for Jeezy, Tip, and Wayne to kind of break through outside of the South as a solo, star. And, I want to give him that credit, because I think the same thing with L. It's like L doesn't get that credit because the guys that came after him kind of did everything, but they wouldn't have been able to have that platform to do some of those things because he broke the mold, And he had to do certain things that they didn't have to do to break that mold. Same thing with Luda. Luda went out there with the big arms and stuff, like.
Even when you put up those numbers, Mike, and I was thinking to myself, it's like, shit, Mike, I don't think Tip did that.
Nah.
But here's the thing about it, though. And this is what we always have to be mindful of, especially as like hip hop turns 50.
Mm-hmm.
How did that hold, though? Because even Luda has been coming out lately and talking about, because of how he kind of characterized himself, that it hurt the longevity of his career. Because guess what? Well, Mike, Rakim is so influential in so many ways, because here it goes. I take this more serious than just a poem.
Yeah, and I mean, same thing with Scarface.
And that's how the craft is looked upon, Mike.
Yeah.
It's looked upon, in order to be upper echelon and to have that, like, real staying power, you have to take it more serious than just a poem.
You're right.
That's why T.I. has ended up being the guy down here as a solo artist, even though Luda's the one that still to this day, like, T.I.'s run of sales ain't like that, Mike. I know it's not. You don't even got to pull it up for him.
But it don't even matter. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because you got, how do I say it? Sometimes, and I'm not saying that anybody's trendy or whatever, but sometimes to sell that amount of records in a certain time period, you have to kind of do some things that would sell records and maybe not do some things that will, like you said, last the test of time. Because some of the things that Scarface was doing, they were hitting those people that it connected with, and maybe some people who would connect with it generations later. But it wasn't the stuff that was going to sell 3 million, and that's okay, because that's why it's hard to even harp on the numbers like that all the time. Because if you do that, Vanilla Ice is the GOAT, right? Or, I don't want to bring up that other name because the show would go off course. Mad Max with the super chat says, dudes in NYC rather mean mug and lean against a wall than appear weak. That's really where the LL neglect comes. Mace, Drake, they get it too. That's a decent point, especially when you bring up Mace and Drake. Mace had a
That's
blueprint of how to sell records, and he did it out the gate.
it worked.
And people
Like,
hated
you
on
want
him
to know
for it.
what?
I seen it.
Ludacris is the first person from down here that I heard talk about the formula to make a hit record. So that's part of the reason why I worked too. Is I think he
Yeah.
might have been the first person to truly come up with the formula. Mike, think about it. Our
He comes
coming
from
out
radio.
party. Like, think about the Southern songs that are the come out songs. Like, in terms of our come out. Like, listen to what the songs are, Mike. Mind playing tricks on me. Space age pimping. Players ball.
Yeah.
Who run it?
They made music for the region.
Right.
He's
That ain't-
thinking outside of that. I mean,
Right.
because
Luda
now
was the first one that did think about, well, I want to get this played outside of, like, these 7 to 8 states.
exactly. What's Your Fantasy is something that could get played anywhere. That's not a
Right.
Southern record.
It
You know what I
did.
mean?
And it did.
And for the people who don't remember or who wasn't here for it, you remember when the Realest Niggas Down South compilation came out, that Rap A Lot compilation? Ludacris and Fate, and I think Our 20's on there too. They had that song Catch Up that ended up on both Incognito and Back for the First Time. That was them making something for the South. You know what I'm saying? So he could do it. He was just like, no, I got to think a little bit bigger. No disrespect to anybody who does it. We got enough people out here making music for the South. Now we got somebody from the South that's able to make music that everybody can rock to. Now, when you do that, though, the South may rock with it slightly less, but that's okay. You still represent. You know what I'm saying?
Different ways to skin a cat. He just found a new way to skin the cat.
And he found something that was true to him, and it connected. Mad Max with the super chat says, Mama Said Knock You Out is my favorite LL song since I heard it on Kangaroo Jack, too. Like Milky Dreams, too. He said, I like Milky Dreams, too. Mike, LL, Rakim, and Kane, I have mad love for. Do you think it's ridiculous, though, Mad Max, for me to possibly think in some universe that Kane and LL may have collaborated in ways that we, aren't privy to? Because this really, my antennas kind of went up. Like, and I think I told Coop this in the previous episode when we were talking about this initially. I heard an interview with LL, and LL said that Kane is his favorite rapper. And I was like, that's weird. He done worked with Molly Mall all these years. Why ain't y'all made a song together? And I thought, maybe they have worked together and we just didn't know. But that's where all that comes from. And then now the news about Big feeling this way about copying, and then the 3 cuts in your eyebrow thing.
You're saying the news, Mike. That's not confirmed. Stop saying that.
Well, the notion, rather. Allegedly.
Mike, can we get to another
Let's
topic?
get to another
review
topic.
album. Let's review one of these 3 albums we're supposed to be reviewing today, maybe.
Let's do that. Let me get to the rest of these super chats. Raising Yoda with the super chat says, when LL album comes out, do a station head listening. We will. How about that? Are you with
I'm
that?
actually thinking. I'm actually thinking about doing a station head tonight. I was going to tell people what it is to see if I can get the playlist together for it in time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thinking about making
Tune
a
in
little
too.
and I might pull up tonight, do a little hip hop station here
For
for
sure.
Friday night. Yeah, we'll see.
I would love to do a station head when LL and Q-Tip dropped their album. Well, LL's album produced by Q-Tip. Mad Max with the super chat says maybe Kane told him how to say words to make it flow, but I think LL wrote the bars. It's okay either way. I'm not spreading fake news. This was sent to us. I'm putting notions out there. There is no fake news about the fact that LL said that Kane's his favorite rapper. He said that. I heard that with my own ears. But yeah, I mean, I have no problem with. I mean, I don't think anybody should have an issue with two great MCs collaborating. Why not? Anyway, on to the next subject. You want to start with Dirk, or you want to start with
Where people want us to start? We got 3 albums. We got Kodak, we got Dirk, we got Jay Worthy and Rock Marcy. Where do people want us to go? See, we didn't hit them with playoff talk. We hit them with a bunch of LL Biggie conjecture lecture.
That was fun though. I had fun.
Mike, I knew as soon as he said LL, I was like, yeah, we about to be here.
I mean, CJ brought it up. I wanted to speak on it, but CJ brought it up, and yeah.
Thanks, CJ.
Yeah, I think that was a great topic.